involved, being a part of this. So my name is Chandler Malone. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Boot Up. We help enterprises upskill and reskill their workforce for technical roles by co-creating curriculum with their teams and then offering them a software platform to track and manage those candidates. Since we launched the company in December of 2020, we've helped over 2,500 people get their jobs in tech for over $200 million in annualized salaries. 80% of those folks are underrepresented in tech, 46% of those folks are women, and in our funding round, we were able to raise over $2 million from all Black venture capitalists and all Black angel investors. And then I guess another thing that I'm working on that I really wanted to share with everyone here that I'm really excited to talk about is I just launched a venture studio called The Family, where we'll be helping early stage entrepreneurs build their first products and also get access and get prepared and get ready to raise capital. So super excited to be here and looking forward to the rest of the night.
Hi everybody, I'm Jessica Couch. I am a Durham native and a beneficiary of Black Wall Street. So I grew up here, I was born and raised here, and I come from a line of people who really respect the Black community and what it can do. I work in retail tech, inclusive of fashion tech, and so my job is to figure out how to create some better experiences for you and solve some of fashion's biggest problems. So, for instance, there's about $64 billion worth of returns, 87% of those are due to poor fit. And when you can't fit your customer, you're marginalizing people who are built different, shaped different, and come from different backgrounds, and you're excluding them out of the fashion process. In addition to returns, there's about $50 billion of dead inventory, and that's inventory that retailers can't get to the right person. And so my job is to help match people to products so that we can reduce about 12 million tons of textile waste. And so a lot of people don't realize that fashion is a $3 trillion industry with a very extensive supply chain, but there is so much room for innovation. And so what I've been privileged to do is to be able to create such innovation and kind of stand in the gap between the consumer and the retailers and create really awesome experiences. And so I'm super excited to talk to you all tonight. Oh, and lastly, I'm developing a tech platform that allows you to shop based on your shape and your style, as well as be rewarded as an influencer on one-to-one. So I'll tell you more about that later, but glad to see everybody here and excited to chat with you.
Hi, privileged to be here. Thanks everyone for coming out. My name is Corville. I'm a software engineer. I've been in the industry for about 20 years, worked in healthcare for 10, and the last few years I'm in data management, focused on privacy and policy, platforms and infrastructure. My whole career, I've been an engineer, primarily being a tech lead, leading, building of platforms and solutions, mostly for enterprise companies.
Hey everyone, my name is Jameer Hamilton, and I am a girl college student. I am a video game development studio CEO. I actually attend North Carolina Central University as a sophomore. But yeah, my studio focuses on player experience, player safety, and also education in the development space for a lot of our youth that are trying to get into video game development or software engineering. We're actually launching, we released one game on January 20th. That was our first project and it's done pretty well. In the fall of this year, I'm planning to release our DevXU initiative, which is an initiative that enables people, players, parents, students, kids, people of all ages to come in and get direct access to my developers and my team to learn directly from us how to build a game, how to become a software developer, how to become a video game developer, and the different skills that are required for those different assets. So that's why I'm here. Thank you all for being here.
Excellent. So I'll start, I just want to ask each of you individually a little bit more about your particular space in tech and how it advances people of color, Black community, where you see your particular projects, your particular expertise, again, advancing Black people. Start with you, Chandler, and give us a little bit more about Boot Up and the family and how relevant is that to assisting us kind of keeping pace with the larger tech movement.
So, I mean, I think, you know, you just think about the last conversation that we just listened to. We're in the technology education space. You know, before we just started working directly with enterprises, we were connecting individuals to tech training programs to help them, first of all, find a skill set that makes sense for them, right? I remember somebody asking a question around, you know, is the training, you know, just in software engineering, or what about, you know, UX, UI design, what about tech sales, what about customer success? So we'll help you understand, okay, what skill set is the best skill set for you? And then once you understand what's the best skill set for you, we'll help you understand what's the best program for you. You know, you're 19 years old living at home, you need a different type of program structure than, you know, you're in your 40s, single parent of 4, right? And so we can help you navigate through all that. And so, I mean, to kind of just talk about like data points as to why this is important, for us, most of the folks that we're helping get jobs, this is their first tech job ever. They're coming in at the very entry level, and our average starting salary for our users is $72,000. If you look at the average salary for a black or brown person working in tech just in general, not entry level, just in general, it's over $130,000, right? And it's like, you know, I'm not from here, I live in Miami, but like I am very aware of just like the cost of living that has been just like skyrocketing here and every other major metro, right? And it's like the only way that we're able to keep pace with that, the only way that we're able to keep purchasing power, the only way that we're even able to keep our neighborhoods, right, is to be able to step into a space where we're gaining skills that give us a high opportunity to earn money. And so, you know, the next piece that I'll say, right, is like, that's just the skills, the training, the jobs. What we're doing with the family is really about entrepreneurship, right? And like, that's where we get the most leverage, that's where we get the most upside. And there's really no type of business that allows anyone to grow from a financial and economic standpoint as quickly as technology businesses do. And I mean, we've got centuries and centuries of quote unquote catching up to do. And so, you know, we can't be just going into industries where, you know, opportunities moving slow. And, you know, just to give an example, right, with, you know, our venture studio, The Family, we've invested and helped co-build products with 8 companies. None of those companies were founded before 2019. Only one of the founders is non-black, only one of the founders is over 30. And the total market value for all of those companies is over 250 million, right? And it's like, that's a very short period of time. And so folks are able to actually go get those skill sets to understand and then identify a problem in the world and are able to build a business, a technology-centric business around that. There's no better way for us to be able to close any type of like economic gap. There's no better way for us to build any type of like stability, security for ourselves, for our families, for our communities. So yeah.
All right, give them a round of applause. So Jessica, I'm gonna move to you. And for Jessica, I had a vested interest because at one point in time, I was aspiring clothing designer. We printed t-shirts for years. And so that's probably not on the same scale as where you're at, but I did have a question for you that I wrote down because I wanted to get this right. So forgive me if you see me reading this word verbatim off the paper. But Jessica, I did want to ask you, what are a few of the more notable tech advances in retail, and are black entrepreneurs keeping up and staying current and competitive?
Okay, so I won't talk about AI and ChatGPT, but that's one of them. But what I will talk about is in my industry specifically, black people have what's called a halo effect. So whatever we do and wear, whatever we put on our face and hair, whatever we do with our nails, you'll see that it trickles into pop culture, and it's only a matter of time. It's a very linear effect. In the past, we haven't had a way to monetize that effect, right? So you see that people can come into our culture, take things from it, and just say, you know, I just discovered this on TikTok, or this is my style. One of the things that I'm building right now with my platform, which is a peer-to-peer discovery engine that allows people to shop based on your body type and style, but it also incentivizes you by allowing you to monetize on a one-to-one. So we're democratizing influence. So let me take you back to why this is important for me. I've been obsessed with fashion since I was younger. Like I had to wear like 3 different clothing things a day. Like it's just me. Like I want to change my clothes. I don't like being told what to do. It's how I express myself. However, it's tons of people who engage in conspicuous consumption. That means they want to wear something that makes them feel and look like they belong to a different group. Our people in particular are some of the top conspicuous consumers. So we're always trying to buy the latest Jordan. You're trying to buy the flyest thing because that's how we express ourselves. And so many times people are telling us like, oh, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do that. But however, what if we could monetize that? What if you have a son, you're spending X amount of money on those Jordans, he has a collection, but he's not getting any money off of that, StockX is. But with the platform, you'll be able to kind of get equity in your influence. This is very important for our youth. This is very important for who we are. I believe that the best technology doesn't force you to have new behaviors. It takes existing behaviors and it puts it on a comprehensive platform. So we're already trendsetters. We move about $260 billion of income to try new things that satisfies our need. That is not a low number. If Black women alone were a nation, we'd have the 15th largest GDP. So we spend bread, but this is about bringing bread back into our community versus trying to force new behaviors. And so some of the best things that's happening tech-wise is social commerce. Social commerce is allowing people to talk in front of a camera, share what they love, and get paid for it. Now, monetizing on platforms like TikTok or Instagram or YouTube are slowly having diminishing value. So you're not making as much money as you could. But on our platform, we're doing this on a one-to-one. So no matter what you post, if 100 people buy it, if 1,000 people buy it, you monetize instantly. So I don't want people to change their behavior. I want us to monetize it in a way that helps our community. In addition to that, the data and insights that our platform will collect will help brands to kind of validate and understand who their actual influencers are. So we can all stop pretending like it's someone else, right? So now we'll have the numbers to represent that. And individuals can go to brands and say, I want a big bag because I'm moving 14,000 pairs of Jordans just from my Instagram, and I don't want $3,000 that you can monetize on Instagram for maybe one post. I want a percentage of every item sold, and that's what affiliate marketing allows us to do. And so in my industry, which again is a $3 trillion industry, I want us to have a piece of the pie that we're responsible for. So the technology that again is moving for us is social commerce and the creator economy. It's given us the opportunity to monetize in a way that we've never done before, and I think everyone should be aware of it and look into it.
Good, let's give another round of applause. That's a point that's just off that short speech. So Corville, you also are very interested in something that you have a title that is Principal Engineer, and it is Privacy and Policy Technical Infrastructure. So if you could just give us a little breakdown of exactly what that means. And then I have a second B question to that. How is that relevant to our culture, and why do we need, as small businesses, as Black-owned businesses, why should we be concerned with that policy structure? And what would be some of the penalties if we did not keep up pace with the larger tech companies? We talked about this.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for the question. Privacy and policy infrastructure is a set of technologies that help to protect data and protect privacy of consumers and individuals. So if you look right now around the world, there are multiple privacy laws. California has one for children. You have GDPR, which happened in 2018. So privacy is very, very important. Now, when it comes to entrepreneurs, technology, and software, one of the first things that you'll get when you're trying to sell it is my privacy protected, right? Samantha took my photo and like, hey, where is it going? She's like, only to you, right? So those are the things that you're typically concerned about. Whether you actually have a software company or you have a regular company, people want to know where their data is, how it's being used, and enabling that is one of the things that I do as part of my job. In that space of policy and privacy, you have a certain type of skill that's required. It's close to security, but it's usually about regulatory, the technology that can do it, and the data management aspect of it. So there were questions earlier, what are some of the roles in this? You can be a program manager, you can be a project manager, you can be a software engineer. All of those apply, including being a manager, if you're looking for that area. So when it comes to our community, there's opportunities for individuals who are in this space, but there's also requirements for anyone who's building software, building products, or just collecting data at any point.
Okay, so C question. How is that relevant? So how representation in that space. What is the importance of that? Because I think that's the question I personally have. I think some people would like to know.
So representation always matters, because you'll need different perspectives, and you need different perspectives when it comes to privacy, right? When you look at how my data or my information influences my culture, it may be different from someone else. Understanding how that impacts me, how that impacts the culture, all of that matters when it comes from a diversity perspective. Representation in this field, I think I've seen a steady trend of underrepresented minorities in this space, particularly at two levels. One, at the program management level, because they understand the regulatory laws, they interpret it, they understand the technology and what's required to get done, and also at the engineering level. The tech layoffs kind of affected that, I think, recently, but overall, I've seen a good mix in this space. We need more representation. We need more people looking at the skill sets that's required to be not only a software engineer, but someone who can understand how to run a program, how to build the software, and how to project manage people so everything is consistently built collaboratively across different disciplines.
Great, okay, good.
That's good.
Thanks a lot. So forgive me, you were added to what I knew to be the panel, and I did get your bio and everything, but I do want to say I feel like you being the youngest on the panel, what is the relevance of being, you're a game technology, correct? You're game tech. Talk to us a little bit about the importance of representation, and I really, why would, I don't know, I guess where would we need to have more young black males, young black women, having an input in game technology and how that whole space is kind of represented?
Yeah, so right now for me, from what I've experienced in my couple of months of having my first game, my first project out, and in my time beforehand, I was actually a video game manager before I was a video game developer and owner of my own studio. So a lot of the time what I see, there's a lot of money in it. There's so much money in video game development. Because you gotta think about it, video game, all of the kids play video games. Like how many of you guys have kids that ask you to buy stuff and it happens. It happens, but it's not going anywhere, right? And so a lot of people like to discourage the gaming space, and I'll get to that later because somebody had a question about how can we encourage people to become producers instead of consumers, but I'll get to that. But for me, it's more about being the example that we can start doing it young too. Right now, we have there's one space right now called Roblox, and we have a project on there. And there are so many millionaires and rich kids on that platform. I know a guy from South Korea, his name is Brandon, he's 17 years old, and I was telling him how he makes $70,000 a month as his cut. He's 17. He doesn't make all of the game by himself. He's barely a developer himself. But he has the brain power and the connections that he made from going out and talking to people to actually have the ability to create games. You know what I mean? It's about connections that you're building. So a lot of the times what we have now, I feel like in video game development, we have one of those shifts where there's a lot of value in it, but a lot of us don't know about it. And then when we do know about it, what I've seen a lot of the times with the people my age and people older than me that are black individuals in the space, the gatekeeper. And so for me, it's about not being the gatekeeper, not taking my piece of the pie and running with it. It's about making sure that I can inspire other young developers, other young people who want to get into development to go out and do it because it's so feasible, so tangible right now in this instant. But the more games that are produced, the more people that get into it, the less value the developer will begin to have. So now it's for me, just inspiring people, giving them the one-on-one relationship with me or the one-on-one insight with me to see that it's possible. Like I said, I spent $0 to make my first game. But the connections that I made and the knowledge that I gained from managing other people's games, I had a team that was faithful enough in me to build the game with me, take their cut afterwards, and then now I have the resources to go out and do it. And so for a lot of the times, that's feasible for young kids, that's feasible for the 15-year-olds, the 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, even down to the 13, 14-year-olds. No matter what they're doing, as long as they're putting in the effort and learn the skills required to where by the time they can get 18, or the time they can be around my age, I just turned 20 last month, they can actually start their careers early, start making some type of something with that image and that vision that they have. And a lot of the times for our younger black kids, especially right now with the economy the way it is, college is not looking like it's going to be as accessible to us. It's accessible right now, but it's not as accessible to where it will be with other people. And that's just not that's not going anywhere either for the time being. And so, giving people an avenue beyond just sports, beyond just content creation, but giving them an avenue through tech and through software development, through software engineering and video game development, I feel like we can start having a spike in our own black economy that we have now through the youth. So that's where I feel like representation is.
Cool. It's clear how we're represented, how we're looked upon in games. I don't play video games, so I can only give you a general idea of what I'm trying to say, but like, what is the card game? Grand Theft Auto. So a black kid comes out, or a black guy comes out, and he's got a pipe and he carjacks somebody, or he robs somebody. Do you guys consider those things when you're creating games as how we're looked upon? Because compared to, say, the record industry, the rap industry, the music, and how we're depicted and the language, does that play a part, or is it just, you know, hey, I'm here in the space, I'm gonna make some money, I'm gonna create a better life for myself, and an example in that lane, as opposed to, well, how are we looked upon, how are the females depicted, how are the men depicted in these video games that are being created?
Yeah, so for me, what I've seen, Grand Theft Auto was actually one of the examples that I looked at when developing my mission behind my studio. And a lot of the times what we have is these game companies, they are taking advantage of a lot of issues, whether that's security, safety, or the racial issues and the images that are, you know, the perceptions that we have. They take advantage of that because it's going to make them money. You know what I mean? A lot of the times, what I see in Grand Theft Auto is you have the kids that are not really involved in that lifestyle, wanting to experiment in it, if that makes sense, and wanting to
Because of what they're seeing.
because of what they're seeing in pop culture and things like that, right? So for me, what it is, you know, that's something that it's sad because there's so many these companies, those rock stars, right? These are the pillars, right? No matter what, they're going to continue to do that because they're making money, and that's not going anywhere for them. But what I can do in my video games, what I like to do is I like to make, if I have a race in my game, my first game, I have races, right? And my races are based on skin color. My races are based on different traits or different abilities or powers that they might have inside of their race, that they're all equal at some point. But, you know, it's whatever you get, you know what I mean? And so just kind of trying to draw away from that black and white, the real life aspect, because a lot of my games are more the fantasy, the combat, the more non-realistic type of games, drawing away from that real life correlation and not trying to use that to gain some monetization points. That's really a big thing, a big step towards the right direction in itself. And like I said, if I can be the example there for people to not use that to their advantage, then a lot more people will come behind me and start using that as well. And then as well as gender, this is something that we looked at as well. Making gender a thing, because it's important. Making gender a thing in our games, but not making it to where you have the female characters that are weaker, or more as assets to the team versus the male characters who have stronger strength, or stronger compatibility with weapons or fighting. Making each character, no matter your preset that you're doing, equal in some sort of way and having some sort of contributions to the team. A lot of the times what I see happen is when they are in those voice chats with each other, they're in those teams with each other, they figure out that way to communicate, use that teamwork to get towards their end goal in the game, which might be defeating a boss or finding a certain objective, or finishing a certain mission. they're figuring out that teamwork aspect, and they're forgetting the race thing, they're forgetting the gender thing, because all of them lack something, and all of them have something that the other person doesn't possess on the team. So just all the way down to that small level, those are the type of ways that I think gaming can impact those scenes.
Yeah, that's a great answer. We're not necessarily putting all the burden on you guys, the younger generation, to fix the problem. Just asking, hey, is there a contribution that's being made? That's excellent. I love that answer. I appreciate that. So I want to kind of close this out with a general question that I'll ask, and everyone kind of can answer the same question, and then we'll give the audience a chance to kind of ask a few questions. I would say, particularly in, this could be a blanket statement because we're talking about RDU, we're talking about Durham, but many cities kind of cookie cutter mimic what's going on here in Durham. There is gentrification, there is disenfranchisement that exists in these larger cities, that exists in some of the smaller cities. What do you guys think is the biggest advantage that we have as a culture in the tech space, and where can we improve to keep pace so that we don't get kind of shut out? And it's great to see all of you in this space, but as a whole, we're a step behind, and we always know that. Individually, what do you think is how do we keep pace and how do we stay competitive and not be left behind? Where are the spaces, what are the ideas, the groups that we need to stay focused on so that we stay relevant?
Man, so I think there's a lot of things. I'll first go into just spaces that we need to be in so we don't fall behind. I feel like there's been a lot of buzz about some of these new generative AI tools, specifically ChatGPT. With that being said, right, like I'm seeing that infiltrate into all different industries, right? And so, that's something where you don't have to be a software engineer, but just understanding how to manipulate this new technology, understanding how to write specific prompts to be able to get the feedback and responses that you're looking for. I think that's something that's going to be incredibly important. And right now, it's something that can augment you and help you be better at your current job. But in the future, when it has more adoption just throughout the entire world, I really believe that it's something that everyone's going to need to be proficient at, just like Microsoft Office, for a certain type of job. And so, I think just getting comfortable with these new generative AI tools is really important. And I think in terms of just what we have, right, if you think about anything that we weren't allowed to be in at first, and then we excelled, right? Like you think about baseball, right? Like we didn't start playing baseball, but you go look at, like 3 to 5, all-time home run leaders, male and black. You look at soccer. I mean, not you look at soccer, you look at golf, you look at tennis, you look at, hell, even soccer. All these European countries, all their players are black. You know what I'm saying? And so I think this is just one of those things where we've shown a level of resiliency. I heard somebody say this earlier, that necessity breeds innovation, right? And so it's like all of these things that have gotten us here, but this far. I lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma for a year, one of the homes of one of the other Black Wall Streets, right? All the things that allowed us to build Black Wall Streets decades ago, centuries ago, right? Like we still have those innate characteristics. But one thing that I will say that I think that we need to improve upon is being able to work together and support each other. I've definitely experienced, some of those feelings and instances of gatekeeping, as well. And I think that, you look at the things that have made us strong historically, it's in our unity. And you look at things that have made other communities strong, right? And it's in, that support and in that unity. And so I think, being able to support each other, whether it's through capital, right? Whether it's through, being a customer, whether it's through just evangelizing opportunities in the space, whether it's through, sending people information about an educational course, right? But I think it's just building that community support around the Black tech ecosystem from all angles. And it's doable, it's here. So yeah.
How about you, Jessica?
I would say that the greatest thing about people of color and Black people especially is that we're really innovative. Like, before, the bags from the grocery store were sustainable, we were using them on our hair, you're using them for lunch. Like, we are an innovative people. And I think that what we lack are the proper resources. And so I think when I was growing up, we had like encyclopedias. And so I was lucky enough to have them and I would read through them. But now you have the internet, there's really no excuse. But what I do think is a barrier for us is social emotional learning. I think that there's imposter syndrome. I think there's emotional hangups that we have to address in the Black community so that once we get over our own anxieties, we can be we have a better chance at being successful and saying, I belong in tech. I certainly did not have a technical background, but I know I'm a problem solver. And so I was very confident in the fact that I can solve problems on a level, and I challenged myself. I built businesses, I failed a bunch of times. I went and educated myself. When I knew I wanted to get in tech as a Black woman at that time, and I come from fashion, and people are like, people go to fashion when you're dumb. And I'm like, oh my God, whatever. I didn't get upset about that. What I did was prepare myself. I'm like, I'm already behind the 8 ball being a woman. I'm already behind the 8 ball, you know, not coming from tech, but I'm gonna make that my advantage for what I'm going into. And so I went as high as possible. I did my master's at Cornell, and I outperformed everybody because I'm a competitor. And I think a lot of Black people are competitors by nature, but I only did those things because I felt like I deserved those things and I could do those things. I had never attended an Ivy League before, but you can't tell me that I'm not gonna be in a situation where I'm not gonna win. Like, I'm absolutely going to compete. And I think that that was instilled in me as a child that, you know, I can do whatever, but I run into a lot of people who don't feel that way. They have a lot of anxieties, they have a lot of issues, it's generational trauma. And I run into a lot of families and friend groups that don't talk about it. You know, nobody wants to talk about, I'm anxious, therefore I'm frozen. I can't send this email. I was a business owner at one point who could not send emails because something about it just made me feel weird. And someone had to tell me, you're having anxiety around it and it's okay to have those emotions in your business. And I'm like, oh, Black woman, I'm not supposed to have all these emotions. So people had to teach me along the way. I had to be vulnerable, but social emotional learning helped me to be more accountable, helped me to get over my own fears, and it helped me to feel worthy in places where otherwise you're like, you know, I really can't do that. And so tech is like any other industry. Like people have said, you don't have to be a coder, right? I don't code. I sat in a one coding class at Cornell and I said, no, I'm out. But what I did learn was, how am I going to communicate to the coders to get what I want? Because I'm the visionary here. This is my idea. I know what I bring to the table. I busted my ass for years, so no one can tell me differently. I need a team that can work with me. I need to be able to communicate. I need to be able to see eye to eye with anybody. And I'm walking into rooms where it's just white men. And I'm not intimidated. And I'm gonna tell y'all something. Black people, as you said, should help each other, because some of my best opportunities actually came from white men. It was not Black people. I had to earn my way for Black people to give me the same respect that other people did. And I do think that's an emotional issue. So while I think we have a lot of great things going for us, we absolutely have to address some of these emotional hangups on a kind of like a grand scale. We have to do it, we have to talk about it, we have to help our youth, but we also have to help our elders, you know? Like my parents won't even mention anxiety. I'm like, that's not God. I'm like, oh my God, we're not even gonna get into that. But I think that those are some of the things that we can do so that people feel worthy, they understand their options, they have their resources, and they actually act on it, and they're not frozen in fear.
That's a relevant answer. Let's give a little round of applause.
So I think the most important asset is you. There's no one else like you. Your diverse perspective is valuable to any organization. And when you bring your most authentic self to the problem space, you have a lot of value to add. So when it comes to deficiencies, I think it's just getting comfortable with technology. Doesn't matter if it's just on your phone or on your laptop, just get comfortable. If you're uncomfortable, keep trying till you get comfortable there. There's value in the skills that you can bring and the perspectives that you bring to an organization. Right now in tech or in any company, the perspective of how it affects our community is very important, right? Or how you, if you look at one app, right? If you go search, try different search engines. You search for haircut, what's the haircut that comes up? Not our haircut, right? But when we're in the room, we can say, hey, those results don't look well, right? When the color correction happens on your phone, on your photos, is it fit for us, right? So you bringing yourself to the organization is expected and it brings value, and bring your most authentic self.
Another good answer. Give him a round of applause, please.
So my answer is a little bit of an answer to that question earlier about how can we help people become, or our kids and our children and youth become the producers rather than the consumers. The first thing to that, and it's in direct correlation to the question that you asked, is making them feel safe that this is something that they can explore. A lot of the times, a lot of the kids are playing video games, and you're gonna hear them in their room screaming, oh, I won, battle royale, I won, this, that, and the other. And instead of taking that and viewing that as a nuisance, and as something that may damage their, where they're going in life, or whatever we may think, encouraging that and making them feel like that space is something that's safe. A lot of the times, if you are, I'm going to put myself in a scenario, if I am 15 years old and a lot of the times what I do every day after I get home from school, I finish my homework or not finish my homework. I get on the game and I'm playing the game for hours on end, right? Finding the middle ground between correction and disabling is important. A lot of the times when you view their passions or their interests as nuisances with that, and what that creates for them is a blockage of what they may be able to gain. And in the days we live in now, everything can be turned into a career. Literally anything can be turned into a career. Whether that's making videos about yourself, or playing video games, or making video games, anything is a career. And so when their parents feel like it's not safe, or no, when their parents make the child feel like it's not safe for me to play games around my mom and my dad, they're not going to go try to build games. They're not going to try to make a career out of it. And a lot of the times that's what happens. We don't have a lot of the access to a lot of the things that, like in my industry, it's filled with just, I'm gonna be real, a lot of white people and a lot of Asian people. And it's not a lot of black people for the reason that I just stated. We don't feel safe. We don't feel safe with us going into it because a lot of the time we're deemed as this, we're not gonna make any money off it, or it's not gonna be a respectable career, or this isn't something we wanna go into, go get this job instead, or go to college for this instead of us encouraging them to go out and explore that. And so to me, I feel as if creating that safe ground, not just for the kids, but for each other, and being open to changing the way our mind works and the way that we move and the things that we value in the career space, that's very important to creating a lot of the opportunities that we may be able to get ourselves into if we just step forward. And a lot of the times that step that's missing is stepping forward because we don't feel safe. So trying not to be that, she said it perfectly, you will get a lot of opportunities for people that don't look like you because a lot of the people that look like you don't feel like you'll make it because they did. And so being open to saying, my kid might be the one that make it, or my nephew might be the one that make it, or my grandkid might be the one that make it. That's the most important thing to enabling kids to explore this type of career path, because that's what it was for me. A lot of the times as a kid, I felt like, my parents caught themselves doing this early, and I'm thankful for it, but a lot of the times they were realizing that they were telling me, well, don't do this, and they see I would never do it again. And with that in turn, it blocked off education that I could have been gotten for it if I researched. One day I was going to think, I like playing this game, how is it made? And I go watch a YouTube video, and that could be the start of my career. But if I'm not looking at it and I feel like that's going to get me in trouble, I'm not touching it. I'm not getting a whooping, bro. I'm good. I'm not getting grounded, I'm good. I'm going to move on, I'm going to try to be a doctor, and then now that space is filled with white people, a lot of Asian people, and none of us. So to end my answer short, encouraging us, encouraging each other to go out and do the things that, just because I can't do it doesn't mean that you can. That is the biggest thing that I see in this industry, and it's probably the same thing in all of the tech industries, because we are underrepresented and we're pretty much underrepresented in the tech industry. And so if we can encourage each other beyond what we know to go out and do it, then a lot of people will actually go out and do it. We'd be surprised for ourselves. So.
Another great answer.